Welcome back and welcome in to Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That is not Wade Neely. That is Blane Keller, our man on the street in Sumner County. I would tell you which paper he's sports editor of, but he's sports editor of all of them in Sumner County. So, but Blane is sitting in for the still out-of-pocket Wade Neely. Will be out for another couple of days. Today and tomorrow is expected back Thursday. Maybe he will be, maybe he won't. You know, who knows? You never know what to expect out of Wade. But again, we do have Blane Keller here with us for the next couple of hours as we discuss sports of local, regional, and national importance. So sit back, relax, and enjoy it. Appreciate you joining us. Blane, appreciate you joining us. Good afternoon.
Yeah, on behalf of the three papers that I cover out here in Sumner County, and if you count a fourth one with helping out Terry McCormick with our Titan coverage throughout the season. I stay busy this time of year, but glad to find a block in my schedule to come on to Main Street Sports Today.
Well, we are glad that you were able to find a little downtime and do that as well. Yeah, because nobody wants to listen to me by myself for 2 hours. I'm no Colin Cowherd. So at any rate, fall break. Are you getting some time down for that?
Yeah, I actually got a plan to go to a wedding this weekend in Ohio that just so happened to line up with Sumner County's fall break. Got some postseason girls soccer, some postseason girls volleyball that are happening still throughout the week. But the only game I've got on tap for football is in Henry County. So it was either drive 2 hours west or drive a couple hours north and head out to Ohio for a couple of days. So excited to take that route.
There you go.
Instead of heading out to Paris.
Awesome. Well, it sounds good. That sounds like a good call on your part, and maybe getting away for a weekend, because I just did so this past weekend. So yeah, that's a good call. Enjoy your wedding, not your wedding.
Not my wedding.
No, you've already done that.
Yeah, already did that myself. So
you've already done that.
Been there, done that.
That's going to be an ongoing theme as this week progresses. If you're watching, pay attention to someone's left hand when they get back as well. So yeah, we will talk more about that later. But yeah, in our second hour today, we will be joined, as we typically are on Tuesday, by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, telling us about all things MTSU. Looking forward to visiting with him. I assume that he is not still at the beach as he was last week, taking part in some great seafood and some R&R down there. But we will have Chip at the top of the 3 o'clock hour. In our next segment, we will be joined by Kevin Ingram from the Vanderbilt Radio Network. I feel like he's got some intriguing stuff to talk about from this past weekend. In case you didn't hear, the Commodores beat the #1 team in the country Saturday, knocking off visiting Alabama 40-35, and we will get more into it again, in case you've not heard, all the significance of that, as I'm sure Blane, who just kind of threw up the VU for you there, can give you a lot of that as well. So should be an intriguing segment there when we get INGRAM on with us here in the 220 segment after this. We'll be talking some baseball as the postseason continues, both without Blane's Rangers and without my Braves. He had a little bit longer to get used to the idea of his team not getting in, but regardless,
a little bit more acceptance.
Yeah, it had time to settle in for you. It really had time to settle in for me as well. So, but yeah, we'll talk a little postseason baseball. We'll talk about a managerial hiring as well that I'm pretty excited about, as excited as I could be for a team that I don't necessarily root for, because a good guy is back in the game. And another baseball death, man. one of the guys that I grew up watching. Blane may not be as familiar with this guy. I might have to school him a little bit, but so we'll be talking about some of that during the third segment of the show, and we will also reach into the grab bag. We'll talk a little WNBA. There's a big ball game tonight. Talk a little Monday Night Football, a little bit more college football. Get you caught up on some stuff. So looking forward to all of that. And again, it is Top 5 Tuesday. In the final segment of the show, Blane and I will give you our top 5 30 for 30 ESPN documentaries. I'm sure if you are watching or listening to this show, you're familiar with the 30 for 30 franchise. And that's not to be confused with SEC Story that shows up on the SEC network. Very similar, but different. These will be strictly 30 for 30 pieces. And like I said, Blane and I will give you our top 5 in the final segment of the show. So stick around for that.
Mo, it's tough to just pick 5.
It is tough to pick just 5. Yeah, but those 5 should be really good ones, though. So
yeah,
again, looking forward to that. Looking forward to what you come up with, because again, as is so often the case on this show, and as I often get reminded, there is a generation gap at work here, and so there's it'll be.
I grew up with some of them. I mean, I've watched a fair bit in my youth.
Yeah,
still in my youth, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. So we'll see what it looks like here again in the final segment, but that's what we're looking like here for the next hour and 53 minutes. So let's go ahead and get started with things by taking a look at yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Today's rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based and Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call, 931-388-5831, or visit zioneagles.org. Schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Let's start with Monday's. Hang on. Let's start with Monday's volleyball scores. As Battle Creek defeated Marshall County 3-1, Murfreesboro Central defeated Battle Creek 3-0. Gallatin with a 3-0 win over Portland. It was Good Pasture in 5 sets, defeating Providence Christian 3-2. Greenbrier with a 3-2 win over Macon County. Stewart's Creek 3, Laverne 0. Lewis County 3, Mount Pleasant 0. Middle Tennessee Christian 3, Easel Harding 0. Smyrna 3, Warren County 0. White County 3, Smyrna 0. Stewart's Creek with a 3-1 win over Wilson Central, and Summertown defeated Hampshire 3-0.
Yeah, those that are interested in our Sumner County coverage, obviously paying a lot of attention to that Gallatin-Portland score. That District 12 AAA volleyball tournament continues tonight. Mo will get to that in a second. Girls soccer scores. Cookeville winning 2-1 against Smyrna. Cumberland County 5, Watertown 2. Lebanon blanks Laverne 4-0. Page wins 1-0 over Franklin. That's a big win for the Patriots. And Harpeth Hall continuing its run in Division II AA, the 5-0 win against University School of Nashville. Looking at the MLB scores, former Main Street Prep staffer Brady McAtamney got a big kick out of this one.
No
Detroit
doubt.
evening the series with Cleveland 1-1, a 3-0 win. 9th inning blast by Kerry Carpenter. Kerry Bonds, Jesus was a Kerry Carpenter, is what he typically sends me when Kerry Carpenter gets a big hit. Typically against my Rangers, I get that text, but I got to send that back to him last night. And the other AL Divisional Series game tied at 1-1 now. Kansas City winning 4-2 against the Yankees. My Mavericks fell 121-116 against the Grizzlies in preseason action. And then Monday Night Football, Kansas City doubling up on New Orleans. That final score, 26-13.
Volleyball action this evening. Well, volleyball action right now. Cookeville is playing Stewart's Creek. That was a 2:00 start there, followed by White County and Lebanon at 4. At 6:00, Tullahoma travels to Columbia Central. Also at 6, FC Boyd Christian is at Zion Christian. And at 7, Murfreesboro Central Magnet is at, I'm not sure because I don't have an opponent. Yeah, they're not at home, clearly. Girls soccer action at 4:30. Brentwood Academy is at Lipscomb Academy. At 5, Donaldson Christian Academy is at University School of Nashville. At 6, Macon County plays at White House. Also, Fairview hosts Creekwood at 6. And Kirkwood will be at Rossview, first touch at 6. 7:00 first touch for Murfreesboro Central at Tullahoma. Also at 7, Dixon County is at West Creek. At 8, Portland plays Station Camp. And again at 7:00, Shelbyville travels to Columbia Central. WNBA action, as we mentioned, game 5 of the WNBA semifinal between Connecticut and host Minnesota. You can see it at 7:00 on ESPN2. The winner will take on the New York Liberty in the WNBA finals. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you today's top story. And if you had the New York Jets as the team that would make the first coach firing in the National Football League in 2014, then winner chicken dinner, because Robert Saleh is no longer employed by that AFC East team as of this morning. The Jets fell to 2-3 with their 23-17 loss over in London against the Vikings over the weekend, a game in which Aaron Rodgers threw 3 interceptions. But I don't know. Maybe it was the loss to Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. That's former Jets quarterback Sam Darnold, the Jets' number 3 pick overall. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why 2-3 is necessarily basis for firing a guy. Maybe it's not 2-3. Maybe it's 20-36 overall. I don't know, but if someone was going to get fired in the National Football League this week, I would not have thought it would be Robert Saleh.
No, and I honestly feel that this might be a move by the Jets from a 30,000-foot view, right?
Mm-hmm.
From all the way in Nashville viewing it. Is it a chance for them to bring on someone, to have someone lead the team that could maybe suit their talents and their traits more toward what Aaron Rodgers can do? Is it a desperation move to try to bring in some juice and some fire with all the expectations that the Jets kind of have this year?
I don't know, but here's my thing. I'm not sure, and it'll sound blasphemous, and I'm okay with that. I'm not sure Aaron Rodgers is who you want to hitch your wagon to at this point.
How much time does Aaron Rodgers have left?
I don't know. But I mean, I don't know. And maybe this exposes my elementary knowledge of football at the professional level. I'm not sure. But I don't know how Rodgers' 1,093 yards in 5 games is reflective of what Robert Saleh is or isn't doing, or was or wasn't doing. He came in as a defensive guy. He was formerly defensive coordinator of the 49ers before taking over as head coach of the Jets. And coming out of this past weekend, the Jets are the number 2 defensive unit in total yards allowed So I'm not sure again exactly how this is reflective of the coach, but they weren't going to fire Aaron Rodgers. So,
well, New York is a game out, maybe half a game out of the standings to Buffalo in the AFC East, and it's not like Miami's going to hang in there for much longer unless they get Tua back, and the Patriots are probably trending downward too. So it's not like you were losing ground by any means in the standings. And Jeff Ulbrich is the defensive coordinator. It's not like you're bringing up an offensive guy and hoping that he takes the reins of this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that makes things better. We're going to replace Sally and elevate the current defensive coordinator to the head coaching role. Like you said, Buffalo's 3-2, and not great.
Buffalo's beatable. Houston proved that this week.
Well, Houston proved that this week. Baltimore proved it the week before. So, I mean, Buffalo's beatable. The Dolphins, again, with Tua and the quarterback situation there, and the Patriots, I hate it for Gerard Mayo, but the Patriots are the Patriots right now, and that's not complimentary. So, I don't know. It feels like the Jets had an opportunity to be competitive, and maybe people closer to the situation than we are, as you mentioned, Blake, feel otherwise. I don't know. They play Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh this Sunday. It's a Sunday night game, followed by the Patriots, the Texans, the Cardinals, and the Colts over that's their next 5 games. So, I mean,
it's a winnable stretch.
It is. It is. And as it stands, Ulbrich is going to get a chance to look like the savior against a schedule that you don't know whether it would have been any better or any worse, had Sally still been in place. So
I'm just trying to think, Mo, of the last time something like this worked. When is an example of firing a head coach 5 games in and bringing on a guy as an interim turned into a positive situation for an NFL team?
I can't imagine that it has, to be honest. I'm looking at this CBS Sports article. I think the last coach was fired 5 games in was Matt Rule 2 years ago over at Carolina, and you can see how it's worked for them. So, I mean, it's an intriguing situation, and certainly something we'll be keeping an eye on here over the next bit. But Robert Sally, you won't have him to kick around if you are a Gang Green fan. We'll have to get Wade's thoughts on that when he gets back, because he is actually inexplicably a Jets fan. So I'm sure he'll have plenty to say about that when he gets back in the saddle here in the next couple of days. Look forward to that. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we will be joined by Kevin Ingram of the Vanderbilt Radio Network. So stay tuned after this. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and diecast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
He shoots, and he scores!
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Blane Keller sitting in for Wade Neely. And we are now joined by Kevin Ingram of the Vanderbilt Radio Network. INGRAM, as his as his Twitter account kind of reads, K Ingram, INGRAM. We like to have fun with that. We have had some fun with that. But Kevin, appreciate you taking some time with us, man. And you know, you've been doing this for a pretty good while. Not speaking to your age necessarily. You've just been around this town for a while. Where does Saturday rank in terms of just professional assignments that you've had?
Yeah, Mo, I appreciate you agreeing to use my logo. I wasn't coming on if I couldn't get my logo on the same page. Man, it's great to be with you guys. It would definitely rank right up there. It was really special and fun and all of those things. And I've had a lot of people ask me, is like, where do you think this ranks in Nashville sports history, just of things that have happened in this town? And I was thinking, over the last 25 years, I saw the Music City Miracle in person. I saw the 2017 Stanley Cup final. The Preds and the Penguins have seen a lot of stuff over the years. And gosh, this has to rank right up near the top. Vanderbilt's defeat of Alabama. It's one of those things, for everybody on the outside and probably a lot of folks around town, it just sort of came out of nowhere. You don't know how these games are ever going to go. And there's probably not tons of national attention on this game. Like I say, most people on the outside think, Alabama will roll in there and take care of business. And next thing you know, you're deep into the second half and you got a chance to win if you're Vanderbilt. And things went the Commodores' way and it really, really played great. I mean, the thing that a lot of people have also said to me is, hey, this win wasn't a fluke. Vanderbilt really played well, beat them up front on both sides of the football, made plays that it took to win. You have the football in your hands at the end, you kneel it down and head off and celebrate. I mean, those things don't happen very often against the number one team. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, Vanderbilt led this thing from start to finish. I mean, they scored on their opening drive and then they got a pick six and all of a sudden they're up 13-0. And, for a lot of people who have followed Vanderbilt athletics and Vanderbilt football for a long time, and probably for some Alabama folks as well, it's like, okay, when's the other shoe going to fall?
Yeah, and there's always that bit of doubt. I mean, no matter who you are, even if you're on the team, I mean, that you got to make some plays to finish off the football game. You get down to the end, and Alabama scored with 2:46 left. They scored a touchdown to make it 40-35. They're within one score, and you think, okay, Alabama's got 2 timeouts, and there's a 2-minute timeout to go with it. So they get a couple stops, they get a chance with the football, and a guy who's a Heisman candidate and some fantastic offensive weapons, they can push it down in the end zone pretty quick and win this thing. So you're still going to have to make some plays. You're going to have to get a couple first downs and make them use their timeouts, and Vanderbilt was able to do all the above. And it was pretty remarkable to watch. And Vanderbilt a couple times in that second half made big plays when they needed to, and it looked like Alabama had some momentum. One that comes to mind is about 9.5 minutes left in the game, that big sack and forced fumble that I felt like was a game-flipping play too by Miles Capers. Wataha recovered the fumble, but that was another spot where Alabama had got it within a situation where they could take the lead if they could drive down and score, and Vanderbilt was able to get that huge turnover that just seemed like it made a gigantic difference in the game in terms of momentum and all those things. And it takes plays from all over the place to defeat a team and a program the caliber of Alabama, and Vanderbilt was able to do that on Saturday.
Kevin, you talked about those big plays. I mean, another one, that 4th and 1 that Vanderbilt has, where Diego Pavia fakes the run, hits Lipscomb Academy grad junior Sherrill downfield. I mean, when Mo talks about the other shoe falling, Vanderbilt's one stride away from that not converting, and maybe Alabama flipping this game for good. How wild of a sequence was that to see from the booth?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, there was a play, either a play or two before that, where Junior had a chance to make a catch and couldn't come up with it. Then, Diego, he drops back, and you probably had some options, but he buys himself a little bit of time, and then he threw a ball, with just the right amount of arc on it to where Junior could run under it. And it was a great play, both ends. The throw by Diego and the catch by Sherrill. 36 yards for a touchdown on 4th and 1. I had people text me at the time. I was like, what's going on here? They're like, this stuff, did that really just happen? But it was a gigantic play in the game, late third quarter. At that point, it made it 30-21. So again, made it a 2-score game. And Vanderbilt a couple different times was able to come up with big plays like that. The kicking of Brock Taylor was really big, made that 33-yarder with 10.5 minutes left. And then the big touchdown with 5 minutes left. We got to the fourth quarter, and I made the comment coming out of the break that, can Vanderbilt hang on right here? And Norman Jordan says that you're going to have to do more than just hang on. You're going to have to make plays. And I said, you're absolutely right. It's probably going to take another touchdown for Vanderbilt to win this football game. And that was certainly the case. And the Diego Pavia to Cam Johnson 6-yard play was really big with about 5 minutes left in the game.
Kevin, when it was announced that Diego Pavia was coming here from New Mexico State, and the thing that everybody was talking about was he just went down to Auburn and beat Auburn. Did you feel like over a 12-game schedule that what Diego Pavia did at New Mexico State could translate to the Southeastern Conference? Because that was kind of my question when he was coming in. Yeah, he really did some great things in Conference USA, no lie. But how does that translate on this stage? And I think we're getting our answer.
Yeah, Mo, I think that's a great question, and maybe we have gotten our answer through the first 5 games here. I think you'll always wonder and maybe that's the case for any player you bring in as a transfer. What are you getting? How will he transfer, or how will he connect with your program, and how is he going to perform and relate to his teammates and all those things? And I think for Diego, part of it is the comfort level of having coaches that he's worked with before. You have Tim Beck, the offensive coordinator. You have Jerry Kill, who's the head coach at New Mexico State. Both those guys are here. Eli Stowers, who is his teammate, has become a top target for him, the tight end, a guy who can be that safety valve, can make a catch, can make people miss. He's really athletic and can also play quarterback, as we found out too. But for Diego, I think that comfort level of having people here that he knows and has worked with before. But I think just his personality too, and the guy's just a winner, and he's tough, and he's not very big. I mean, he's probably not any bigger than me, and he was out there just delivering hits and taking hits and mixing it up with people. And we were out there for the coin toss on Saturday, and Alabama calls the toss, and it's Jalen Milroe for Alabama and a couple of their captains and our captains, including Diego Pavi. And all of a sudden, all this jawing starts, and I'm holding my microphone in there, listening to the referee's instructions, and I'm like, okay, well, do I need to maybe back up a step or two here? And the referee tells the guys hey, let's settle it down here. We don't need all of this, before the coin toss. And I was also thinking at the times maybe hey, let's not poke the bear too much right here. You want to be tough and stand up to it, but hey, let's get the coin toss done and go play some football. And after that, Bama won the toss. Vanderbilt got the ball, went down and took 6 minutes off the clock and scored a touchdown. And it felt like that was a really big tone setter for the game. I know it's early on, it's the first drive of the game, but for a Vanderbilt team that wants to shorten up the game and win the time of possession, to do that and to hold the ball for 42 minutes was really big. And Diego Pavi was, to back to your original question, he was right in the middle of all of it. He's fit in great. His teammates seem to have fun playing with him, and his family's a trip to see the family that makes it in here. I think he said he had 68 people here from New Mexico on Saturday to watch the Vandy Alabama game. So it's been fun.
I think I saw that they had rolled up in a Jeep pregame, a bunch of Diego's family, and they had their own specific part of the tailgate. I mean, you've been around college athletes, professional athletes across your career. It just means more whenever you have your family in attendance. I don't know if that played a factor in him wanting to beat Alabama. I'm sure he wanted to do that anyway, but to do that with his family in attendance must have been special.
Yeah, I think it did. And I think it meant a lot to him. And he said as much after the game. He said, having all those people there, and they sit right behind the bench and he can hear them. And he said it's, like having his own cheering section. He said it really made him feel like he was back at home playing in the backyard, having all those people around and hollering and rooting for him. So, I didn't know about the tailgate. That's pretty interesting. Gosh. There's so much to unpack from that game on Saturday before and afterward. But his family's been really entertaining to see, and just how he connects with them and how much they enjoy that moment after the game on Saturday.
This would be a good time to mention Diego Pavia at the high school level was a 3-time state wrestling finalist in New Mexico.
That is in no way shocking, is it?
It's really not. In retrospect, now that you've seen his game and you talk about his stature and that kind of thing, and his intensity and all of that. Yeah, it makes perfectly good sense that he was a wrestler and did it at a high level at the high school level. Kevin Ingram of the Vanderbilt Radio Network joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Obviously, Kevin, when you get your first win in 24 games, I guess your first win in 40 years over a team, your first win in 60 games against an Associated Press top 5 team, to the victors belong the spoils. 4 Vanderbilt players received SEC weekly recognition this week, including the aforementioned Diego Pavia, as well as Brock Taylor, the SEC Special Teams Co-Player of the Week, Gunnar Hansen, the Co-Offensive Lineman of the Week, and Miles Capers, the Co-Defensive Lineman of the Week. There are 9 Southeastern Conference Players of the Week this week, and I don't want to go off on that tangent, but the SEC recognizes an offensive, a defensive, a special teams, an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, and a freshman of the week.
I was hoping I might win sideline report of the week, but I didn't see that one on there anyway.
Just hang on, or just call yourself that and make somebody prove that you weren't.
Right. Yeah, they don't ever know the difference, will they?
They won't. I mean, clearly, as many as they name. But I mean,
I'm Kevin. I'm co-sideline reporter of the week in the Southeastern Conference.
You could really sell that one. But Vanderbilt was also the Cheez-It Football Writers Association of America's National Team of the Week, and they've won it twice previously following their win over Virginia Tech. Which brings up my next question, Kevin.
Is it about Cheez-Its?
And it is not about Cheez-Its. It is about Vanderbilt. I mean, obviously this win over Alabama is a quality win. It's a fantastic win. It's a historical win. But how much talk is there about this team could be 5-0? This team should be 5-0 or at minimum 4-1. I mean, how much tougher does this win make the Georgia State loss and the Missouri loss?
Yeah, Mo, that is a really good question because I'm not going to lie, I've thought about that myself. I mean, the game at Georgia State, especially, you're coming off the big win over Virginia Tech in overtime, and then took care of business against Alcorn State the week after that, and you go down to Atlanta and play Georgia State, and it's at the old Turner Field, and there wasn't not a ton of atmosphere for the game, and Vanderbilt just was really kind of flat, just didn't play very well, and fell behind and played from behind the whole night, made a lot of mistakes and penalties and turnovers and all those things, but then came back in the fourth quarter, took the lead with about a minute left, and thinking, okay, for everything that's happened, you're going to escape and win this game. And then Georgia State drives right down and scores a touchdown. And receiver made a great play and nice throw, nice catch. And you're walking out there trying to figure out what happened. The following week went to Missouri and had a great chance to win that game. And, that's a good team. You're playing on the road, SEC team at the time, ranked number 7. And you go to overtime, 2 overtimes. And, you think about those 2 games. Vanderbilt led in overtime at Missouri and led with a minute left at Georgia State and lost both football games. And you can definitely look at those and say a couple of things go a different way, and you're 5-0 and you're probably ranked in the teens, and maybe you have a whole different outlook on your season. You can also look at it and say, well, the Virginia Tech game could have gone the other way, or this Alabama game maybe could have gone the other way. I mean, there are those things I always think in some ways even out. But there's the Georgia State game, I think, will be one that probably a big portion of the fan base, and I don't know, same for me. I would look at it and say, man, could have gotten that one. You're sitting there at 4-1, and a bowl eligibility looks a whole lot more in reach. But got a lot of season left. The Alabama game gives you a lot of confidence. You never know what's going to happen or how the teams are going to be or what your opponent's going to be like as you head down the stretch of the SEC season with still 7 more games to play.
7 more games to play starting this weekend at Lexington, which has never been a great amount of fun for Vanderbilt. But, yeah, again, for this up and down, the way everything has gone, you almost have to beat this Kentucky team, right? I mean, or else it's just more fizzle.
Yeah, you would definitely want to capitalize on the momentum that you got from the Alabama game and use that confidence. And it'll be interesting to see once we get to the end of the week what kind of week of practice it's been in total, because I felt like going into that Alabama game, the coaches were as pleased with the practice last week and coming out of the open week than maybe any time the whole season. They were not pleased with the week of practice going into the Georgia State game. And I think they, kind of had a feeling that might be a tough one that particular Saturday. But you don't want to go up there and make a bunch of mistakes and commit a bunch of penalties, get back to doing that and turn the football over and all those things. I was joking the other day, you're going up to horse country. This is going to be a whole lot more of a slugfest than maybe a thoroughbred race. I have a feeling on Saturday. You got 2 teams that have really good defenses. And it's going to be a game about controlling the football and time of possession and all those things. But I think it'll be a really interesting game on Saturday night. And you got a Kentucky team they're also coming off a huge win, but that was 2 weeks ago. They had an open date this past week after they went to Ole Miss and won. I mean, that was a very unexpected win too, as they went down there and knocked off a top 10 team on the road. So I think this is a pretty intriguing matchup coming up on Saturday night.
Kevin Ingram of the Vanderbilt Radio Network joining us here on Main Street Sports today. And Kevin, again, Vanderbilt sitting here at 3-2 going into this Kentucky game. You talk about bowl eligibility. You're talking about 6 victories. They've got 7 games left. And while, you don't necessarily want to get into counting wins, you kind of got to get into counting wins. After this Kentucky game, Ball State comes in here. Then you've got Texas. You're on the road at Auburn. You've got South Carolina here. You go to Baton Rouge, and you finish up against a Tennessee team that, speaking of laying eggs, just did so over at Fayetteville over the weekend. I mean, are there 3 more wins on this schedule for Vanderbilt? Or are there 2 more wins other than Ball State on this schedule for Vanderbilt?
Mo, I don't even know who we're playing after this week. The only week that matters to me is Kentucky. I haven't even looked at the schedule. I'm taking them one game at a time.
Spoken like a true coach speak there.
Yeah, how's that for coach?
I walked right into that one. My bad.
You got to look at, you just got to look at all the games. You really kind of do got to go week by week because, again, you don't know what these teams are going to look like when you play them. And I think, if you're on the inside, it's funny. We talked about this a couple weeks ago on our coaches show or podcast that, if you're on the inside, you have to approach every game like you're going to win it. I mean, whether you're playing Alabama or you're playing Ball State or whoever you're playing, Texas or whatever it is. I mean, you put together the game plan. You try to figure out the schemes that you think are going to work the best for you, and you go in it with confidence thinking that we got a shot to win this football game. So that's definitely the approach for Clark Lee and his program. And I just think, I think Clark's feeling coming out of this is like, yeah, this is a gigantic win over Alabama that definitely changes the perception of our program and maybe the trajectory of our program. But there's a lot more work to be done. It's not the end point. It's just a point along the way of what your goals are and where you're trying to get. So, I think for this team, you look at it and say there's certainly plenty more wins on the schedule in the coming weeks.
I like the sound of that. INGRAM, Kevin Ingram, you can find him at K Ingram Sports on Twitter or on X, however you care to refer to it. But you can also find him right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Kevin, we appreciate you taking some time, man. And again, congratulations. I know that you've been around this program so long that I feel like you deserve congratulations because there's been a lot of downs. So enjoy this up.
Oh, Mo and Blane, I appreciate you guys having me on. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey. This is kind of my second stint working on the football broadcast as sideline reporter, 16 years total. So I've seen a little bit of everything. I've seen some tough losses, including a couple tough losses this season, but the game on Saturday was about as much fun as anything I've experienced in the years I've been around it. So it was a lot of fun, and looking forward to Saturday night. I still have a hard time believing that the weather's going to be nice in Lexington because I've been there a lot of times in my life, and about 99% of the time the weather's been terrible. Now, most of the time the game when Vanderbilt has played there has been in November, so it's unusual to go in October, but hoping for good weather and a good result for Vanderbilt up at Commonwealth Stadium or Kroger Field, as they call it, on Saturday night.
Well, like you said, anytime you're going to get good weather up at Kentucky, because I don't know, regardless of who I was covering, I don't know that I've been there that it was. So enjoy that.
Yeah, I know it's always like cold and rainy, or the last time we went there, it snowed. It was ridiculous, but yeah, it should be supposed to be nice on Saturday. So we'll see.
Well, take the other stuff just in case.
You always do.
Yeah. Hey, man, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Anytime, fellas. Thank you.
All right. Hey, when we continue here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we will talk a little baseball. So stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studios after this.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. October 8th, 1999, Brian Jordan's two-run double in the top of the 12th inning was the difference as the Braves down host Houston 5-3 in Game 3 of the NLDS. It was the veteran right fielder's game as he put Atlanta on the board with a three-run homer in the sixth off starter Mike Hampton to overcome an early 2-0 deficit. The Astros scored in the seventh, but Mike Gremlinger, Russ Springer, John Rocker, and Kevin Millwood threw 5 2/3 scoreless innings to put Atlanta up 2-1 in the best-of-5 series. Yeah, that was this day in Braves history. Obviously, that will be the extent of our mention of the Atlanta Braves in this segment since, well, they got eliminated in the wild card round last week, 2-0 by San Diego. So the division series continue. As we mentioned during the rundown, Kansas City defeated the Yankees 4-2 yesterday to even that best-of-5 series at 1-1. Detroit defeated Cleveland 3-0 to even that series at 1-1. On the National League side, Philadelphia and the Mets are even at 1 apiece. Game 3 is, well, in about an hour and a half. 4:08 first pitch for the Phillies at Citi Field against the Mets. And at 8:08, the Dodgers will play at Petco against the Padres. That series is even at 1 apiece as well. So,
Mo, wanted to throw this question out to you looking at the National League Division Series. A few of our co-workers, of course, David Wilson company, are big Braves fans, now trying to search for that team to root for through the postseason. Do you care about whether the Phillies or the Mets win that divisional round?
I absolutely care. Well, I mean, whichever of them wins, I want them to lose as quickly as possible. So, I mean, ideally, in a perfect world, the Mets would beat the Phillies and the Padres would beat the Mets. I would be okay if it is the Dodgers, but I would prefer that it be the Padres just because the Dodgers have done the Braves some damage here in recent years as well. I mean, and I think there's something to be said for losing to, the National League champ, maybe. So, but
as a Rangers fan, I am taking the approach of rooting for former Rangers on the teams that are in the postseason right now. So Detroit, Andy Ibanez, former Ranger.
Okay.
Kansas City, Cole Reagans, unfortunately, was a Ranger at one point, nowhere near as good as what he is now. Colby Allard, a reliever for the Phillies, one-time Brave and one-time Ranger as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and of course, Jurickson Profar on the Padres. So I've got a lot of ways to go. Got a lot of teams to root for. Of course, there's some on Cleveland too.
You could also kind of take it back a generation. Bobby Witt Jr. is the son of former Texas Ranger Bobby Witt.
Could do that as well. Missing the big one there. Somebody screaming at their television, waiting for me to bring that one out.
Yeah. So, I kind of like that. I'm not sure, other than Colby Allard, I would probably have to do a little bit more research than I have done to see what other Braves there are that are still active in the postseason. Obviously, the big one is Freddie Freeman, who is dealing with that ankle injury right now for the Dodgers. But I can't bring myself to root for Freddie at this point. So, yeah, I kind of like this Padres team from the standpoint that, they've not had a lot of postseason success of late. They've never won a World Series, and they've not been on this stage in a pretty good while. And there's a lot of redemption out there. Starting with Mike Schilt, the Padres manager, who was unceremoniously dumped by St. Louis a few years back, and we see how that's worked for St. Louis since. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be bothered if they won. Of the four National League teams that are remaining, they are the lesser of the four evils for me as a Braves fan, basically. So I'll probably be rooting for the American League once we get to the World Series, unless it's the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, I'm joining my dear friend Brady and his bandwagon with Detroit right now, but I wouldn't mind if Cleveland made it or if Kansas City made it from the American League side as a fan of the American League. There are former Rangers on the Yankees, but I'm not in love with them. You're never in love with the Yankees winning. I mean,
there you go. Exactly.
So that's how I'm viewing it right now. There are three teams that I'd be okay with advancing out of the American League side.
There we go. Yeah. And after these two games today, we got a full slate tomorrow. Everybody is in action tomorrow. The Guardians and the Tigers will play their game 3 early. The Yankees and the Royals will play their game 3 at 6. And then Philadelphia, New York, and LA, San Diego, that'll be game 4 for those two tomorrow night. So baseball paradise tomorrow, as long as you're just watching, I guess, because again, as a Braves fan, I'm struggling to watch. In fact, I've not watched since they got eliminated. So,
way to be honest, Mo.
Yeah, hey, it is what it is, man. Once my team is done, I'm kind of done. But news late last week, and we did not have a show on Friday. It was David and I on Thursday. I think it was Thursday evening when this started to trickle out, maybe. But former Birmingham Barons manager Terry Francona is back in the game. He has been named to replace David Bell as manager of the Cincinnati Reds. Terry Francona, who retired at the end of the 2023 season after serving as Cleveland's manager for a pretty good chunk of time, 11 seasons. And most people, including Terry, thought he was done. According to this article on The Athletic, I honestly didn't see myself managing again. I had a really good year away from the game. I needed to step away. I didn't step away because I didn't love the game. I stepped away because I didn't think I was doing the job up to the caliber that I thought was necessary. Part of it was health. A lot of it was health, and it was getting in the way. So apparently a healthy Terry Francona will be back in the dugout at the Great American Ballpark, and I'm glad to see it. I mean, I just think he's done a good job everywhere he's been. Obviously, breaking the curse in Boston and everything else he's done as a manager. He's won nearly 2,000 games over his career. And guys like that at his age, I mean, he's 65 years old. I mean, he's still, he's got another 10 years if he wants to, probably. But guys like that, I feel like are good for the game, and looking forward as long as his return does not hurt my team. I'm glad to see him back, and that Cincinnati team, man, when you look at that roster, starting with Ellie De La Cruz and some of those other cats, that is a team that, no disrespect to David Bell, but you feel like maybe that team has underachieved a little bit. And with some of the moves that Milwaukee made over the offseason that had people on this show, including me, saying we have no idea what the Brewers are doing before they won yet another NL Central Division championship. But, you feel like Cincinnati should be in that mix. And you feel like with Francona making out the lineup, they're probably gonna be. So
yeah, Mo, I like this move. It reminds me, as a Rangers fan, Bruce Bochy comes out of retirement, a veteran guy. Of course, the Rangers had a couple of veteran players, but altogether a young team at the point that Bruce Bochy took over. And a guy with that experience helped manage a bullpen that had holes and helped lead some younger players to have success, namely Evan Carter in that postseason run 2 years ago. When you've got a young roster like the Reds do, it makes sense to bring in a guy who has really probably seen it all in Major League Baseball.
Absolutely. And he will benefit those young kids, like you said. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Terry Francona, with the Reds here in 2025 and going forward. Last week we talked about the passing of Pete Rose at the age of 83. Well, Major League Baseball announced earlier today that Louis Tiant, former Boston Red Sox pitcher, among other, also pitched for Cleveland, began his career with Cleveland, but where I remember him from is with those 75 Boston Red Sox in that World Series against the Reds. Passed away at the age of 83. Played for 6 different teams, including, again, the Red Sox and the then Cleveland Indians. Pitched for the Twins, but also the Yankees, Pirates, and the California Angels, which is where he retired in 1982. But if you were of a certain age, you remember Tiant's windup where he would turn his back completely to the plate and then deliver the pitch. And if you were a baseball playing kid at that time, you tried it at least once and probably more than once. But he was, Reggie Jackson referred to him as the Fred Astaire of baseball. 229 career wins, a 3.30 ERA, 2.19 strikeout to walk ratio. I think he won, 2 ERA titles, and he was a 3-time All-Star from 68 to 82. And again, memorable as part of that 1975 Red Sox team that fell to Cincinnati in the World Series that year. But a character, but not just a character, a pretty darn good performer, and has passed away at the age of 83. Like I said, I'm not sure if you were familiar with him or not, Blane.
Yeah, I appreciate the lesson there to kind of I mean, honestly, unfamiliar, but
you'll have to go pull him up on YouTube. Pull him up on YouTube.
I'm gonna pull up the highlight reel once we get out of here for sure.
There we go. Yeah. Hour number 1 of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is in the books. In our final segment, Blane and I will give you our top 5 30 for 30 ESPN documentaries. But when we return to the Lee Company studios after this break, we will be joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, who is rested and refreshed after some time off. So looking forward to catching up with him when we come back after this.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts right now. That's Blane Keller sitting in for Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and we are now joined by the Blue Raider voice, the pride of the dimple, Chip Walters, coming to us from parts unknown in his vehicle.
I'm in the Woodfin lot across from Murphy Center. We're actually across from the outdoor tennis facility. This week, with a Thursday night game, the week kind of gets compressed a little bit, and the things that I normally do with the coaching staff on Thursday, when I talk to the coordinators and Coach Derek Mason, I have a little sit down with him. So today is actually our Thursday because we're playing on Thursday this week. So I just left out of there and jumped in the car and found a spot that had decent lighting and hopefully it all sounds okay too.
Well, you are decently lit. Yes, you look quite photogenic as always.
Well, and my silver highlights are exposed a little more with some outstanding backlighting.
I probably should take some tips from you along those lines. Speaking of silver highlights, little news out of Middle Tennessee State last week as another silver-haired guy. The old pro, Dick Palmer, has stepped away from, or stepped back maybe, from his
Right.
women's basketball duties with the radio broadcast. He will be doing home games only this season. Is that right?
No, he's stepping away completely from women's basketball.
Okay.
And and he's going to continue to do baseball, and will continue to work with us as our pre and post game and halftime host on the Blue Raider Network. Dick Palmer kind of took me under his wing back in the fall of '81 when I was a freshman, and so we've been kind of part of this for 43 years, I guess now, together. I've been back officially working with him since '91, so that's 33 years or 34 years, I guess, and 34 football seasons. He gave up. He changed his role 17 years ago. He had been doing football and men's basketball, and at that point, he stepped away from that and took on the role of being women's basketball and baseball play-by-play, which he has really enjoyed. Mr. Palmer just celebrated his 86th birthday, so he is, health-wise, he's in great shape. His wife had gone through a little bit of a health scare a year ago, and needing him to be a little closer to home for longer periods of time could be helpful there. So I think that played a role into his decision. And the travel can be a little bit rough, and I hope that I'm still getting through airports at 86, but he's baseball is one of those things like, okay, if you go on a road trip, you're there for like 3 or 4 days, and you're not having to go from San Antonio to El Paso and all of that. So that it took taken a little bit of a toll, but you think what he has seen in football and both men's and women's basketball is pretty special. His first year of doing Blue Raider men's basketball was the 1981-82 year. So his first year calling Blue Raider men's basketball after he took over for Monty Hale Sr. was the year that Middle beat Kentucky. Right. Well, you think about all those other NCAA tournament wins, NIT wins, OVC championships, and on into the Sun Belt. He has seen a lot. He called every game that Boots Donnelly ever coached except for the first 2 years. So Dick allowed Monty to call the years when Middle won 1 game and 2 games in Boots' first 2 years, and then after that it was all winning years, including the real breakthrough year, which was 40 years ago this year in 1984. And I was talking to somebody about this today. That as a matter of fact, I brought it up to Derek Mason. I said, we're playing Louisiana Tech this week. I said 40 years ago we had a heck of a game with them in the national semifinals here at Floyd Stadium, and Dick was calling that, which that followed up a playoff win at Eastern Kentucky and a playoff win at Indiana State. So he's seen an awful lot in those years, and is such a great resource, and has been so good to me, and helping pave the way for me and showing me how to do things and how not to do things, and just being a great friend along the way. He said he's really looking forward to being a spectator and being able to watch games from the stands, and be able to see both the men and the women play this winter.
Chip, As far as women's basketball goes, how is that going to be handled? Has that been determined yet?
It has been determined, and I'm not at liberty to say. What I can tell you is be on the lookout at 5:30 p.m. today. It will be announced that
Of course, 5:30 p.m. after we go off the air at 4. Okay.
Well, what I can tell you is it will be someone who our fan base will be very familiar with, who has Middle Tennessee ties for sure, and someone I think they'll be very excited about being in that chair. And I say I never want to use the word that this person will be Dick Palmer's replacement. It will be his successor, and I think that is the proper way to go about it. But be on the lookout today at 5:30.
5:30.
Some scoop on Main Street Sports today. Chip wanted to ask you, Middle Tennessee football coming off the bye this week. You just got done talking with first-year coach Derek Mason. How did he approach that open date? And with your experience with Coach Stockstill, was it similar or different to how the program has embraced it in the past?
Not totally different. They gave them after the Memphis game, instead of 1 day, they gave them 2 days off. And as Derek said, I'm going to let them sleep in for a couple of days. But they were very deliberate, and Coach Stock was as well, to use those 3 or 4 practices before getting into the Louisiana Tech game prep. They had different words for it. Derek calls it fundamental practices. Coach Stock had maybe a different word for it, but still means the same. Is don't worry about get back to the basics of blocking, tackling, making sure. And he even talked about, as coaches, they needed to go through their operational things and smooth out a few things. Like, he's made it very public. They've made some errors in substitutions that have, cost them a touchdown at Memphis, as far as getting a guy on late defensively that where they had stopped Memphis on a 4th and 3, but there was a player coming on late that was deemed to be offsides, which gave Memphis a first down, and 2 plays later they scored. So it not just the players, but about their own operations with how they do things within a game. They wanted to get back to the very basics of that, make sure that they do the little things well, and to see, okay, how do we went into this season wanting to do things A through M. Do we need to back that up and only go A through F and do A through F really good, and not worry about G through M? Throw those things out because we figured out the things we do well. Let's continue to do those. So that's how they went about it. And a really good question that they kind of went back to basics for 3 days. They made a lot of progress, in particular on tackling at Memphis, I thought, and I think they feel like that they really gained a lot from going back to basics for 3 days.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as he typically does on Tuesdays. And Chip, obviously, again, there's some history between Middle Tennessee State and Louisiana Tech. This is a Thursday matchup as Conference USA swings into its midweek schedule, going down to Ruston on Thursday night. We've played Western. That's the only conference game that Middle has played to this point. To see somebody who is theoretically on the same level after the other games that Middle has played to this point, what is the benefit of the schedule that we've played prior to this, and how do you see that playing out Thursday night?
Well, I think, part of the benefit, I mean, in the non-conference schedule that you play, I think you hopefully, if you're competing, obviously this schedule was not built knowing that you would have a new coaching staff this year. That was a byproduct, and a coincidence. So, when you open up, and when you have, and who knew Ole Miss was going to be a top 5 team when they came on the schedule? Who knew that Manny that whenever this game with Duke was scheduled, number one, that Manny was going to be there, and that Duke was going to be on an uptick. But Middle played outside of the turnover bug, played pretty well against Duke. Had moved the ball well against Ole Miss. I thought made early mistakes against Western that just put them in a hole. Probably the best overall game they've played was the Memphis game. So they're going in the right direction. And I think the thing that you look at this from that schedule is that maybe you get to this point to where you're playing teams that are more like yourself, is that, okay, things start to come a little easier now. And also you're getting a little bit healthier. I mean, he mentioned the names Peasant and Middlebrook in his press conference yesterday, and that's 2 running backs we haven't seen since the Tennessee Tech game. So Bodie Reeder may have a few more bullets in his gun this week. But you've seen some health issues get better on defense as well. And the one thing he talked about on his radio show last night, when I was kind of talking about the offensive line and moving, Mateo Guevara, who had been the starting center, moved him out to right guard and moved some other people around. And his comment last night was, he goes, "I'm tired of moving people around. I hope that we have them in the right place now. I want to see them all play in the same position they played the week before." He goes, "I hope we're done experimenting and we're to that point. And to that point, where now health is the reason you might be moving somebody around, or that you've gained some depth, things like that." So, you hope that playing an Ole Miss, you hope that playing a Duke will pay off as you move into the conference schedule. And the one thing, talking to some of the players, is that, hey, here you are, probably 80% of your fan base thought before the season started you would be 1-4 at the end of September. And what are you? You're 1-4. You've played a tough schedule, very tough schedule. But now, you're in games against people like yourself, and here you go now. And they're excited about where they are. I was talking to Parker Hughes, middle linebacker, and John House, who is the leading tackler on this football team. They're excited about where they are, and they think that they've gotten better as well. So, they're looking forward to it. And you're playing 3 games in 14 days, but the tough one is week 1 and week 2 of this little stretch, playing Thursday and then having the quick turnaround and playing again next Tuesday.
How do you balance that between Thursday game and the Tuesday game, especially after having a week away from play and now having to have back-to-back short weeks as a program?
Well, as it works out, honestly, it is much more easy to digest than last year when you had to play 4 midweek games. This year, it worked out to where everybody only has to play 3. And, this week, you don't really have a short week because you've had a mini bye. So you've had a full week of prep. Next week is really the only short week you have, because
it's really short.
It's really short, and then you go from playing on a Tuesday to playing the following Wednesday. So you actually have an added day between next week's game against Kennesaw, and then the road trip to Jacksonville State. So it is more palatable. And then you have kind of a buffer on either end of this to kind of get your feet back under you before you hit your November schedule. So, it's different. And the biggest challenge is, as you all know, football players and football coaches in particular are creatures of habit, and they're used to doing certain things on Sunday. They're used to doing certain things on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday leading into a Saturday game. So you have to find a way to get it into your head on this week where you play on Thursday. As I'm talking to you guys, today's not Tuesday. Today is Thursday in your brain, because the actual Thursday is your Saturday in your brain. And that's the part you have to kind of figure out how to handle and go about your business. But as I mentioned to Coach Mason walking out of his office 30 minutes ago, I said, Derek, I said, if you are on a national stage, and that's what this was all about, playing midweek games in October. I said, but Derek, I would much rather play midweek games in October in Conference USA cities than midweek games in November in MAC cities. No question. He goes, oh, I coached at Ohio U, and it's no fun going to Toledo in November.
Oh, that's a visual that I could do without for sure. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. One thing that you said, Chip, that I kind of wanted to revisit, you mentioned that John House, former Brentwood High School safety, former Vanderbilt signee who transferred in after Coach Mason arrived, is the leading tackler. How concerned are we that a safety is the Blue Raiders' leading tackler?
Well, that's I get your point, and that's changing a little bit. 2 weeks ago, middle linebacker Parker Hughes was the leading tackler in the game. The move of Xavier Williams over to the other safety position from third string quarterback, it's been amazing to watch his transformation. But I think it's something, again, here's something that you and I, old school guys, have to get through our head in today's football. That more times than not, when you look at a team's defensive stats, it's not always that middle linebacker or that defensive end who's making the plays. They're funneling stuff, into the linebacking core, and the strong safeties are making more and more plays, because in today's world of spread offenses, you're having to make more plays in space, and who's more capable of doing that than corners and safeties? So it is part of it, yes, can be alarming. Part of it too is just a byproduct of what today's football is.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You feel better now?
Yeah, I do feel better now. Thank you for clarifying that and bringing that point out, because that does make me feel better. Chip, the Lady Raiders have been social media rock stars here for the past little bit, thanks to the March Madness Instagram, I guess.
Yes.
What has been the after effect? I mean, I know Rick and Matt are relatively forward thinking, and they probably appreciate the exposure and that kind of thing, even if it might have been a little bit of a pain, and kind of ask them to kind of go out of their way to do some things. They're very accommodating. I get all that, but how do they feel about, the reception to what they've done with March Madness?
Well, I think the NCAA, number one, has a pretty adept social media team to do things like this for March Madness. The great part was that all of the content that was recorded was done in a 48-hour period last week, but it's now being distributed over a 5 or 6 day period this week. So all of the heavy lifting on it came last week. Now it's all, since then it's been edited, refined, slicked up, and now it's being released throughout the week. And when you're talking about an Instagram account that has just short of 1 million followers, it's certainly worth your time and effort to put your best foot forward with them, because they only choose a handful of programs each year to go in and embed themselves with for 48 hours, and to put on a national stage like that, and for I don't think there was any debate in Rick Ensel's mind when it was asked, "Hey, would you mind doing this?" I think the answer, he probably answered before they finished the question. Yes, they're welcome. Come on in. You go to a practice at any given day. There's there's going to be 50 people, sometimes up to 100 people, fans at practice on any given weekday. So he enjoys the openness, enjoys the exposure, and enjoys the for his players to be able to interact not only with fans but with the media folks, because they know that it's going to pay off if and more likely when they are back in the March Madness picture.
Chip, had a question for you going back to what you were talking about with John Howes, of course, former Vanderbilt player, Derek Mason, obviously former Vanderbilt coach. We had Kevin INGRAM on in our first segment to talk about that Vanderbilt win over Alabama. Did Derek say anything about that? I mean, just kind of catching that score over the week?
I didn't even bring it up to him. I figured if he wanted to talk about it, he would say something about it. I did ask John last night during a commercial break. I had him on our radio show last night, and I said, "Hey, did you go to Nashville on Saturday?" He goes, "Nah." He goes, that was, said, "I'm happy for him." He goes, "Just that was a different part of my life." Mo knows this. You may not know, but I mean, I spent 5 years doing radio for Vanderbilt, and matter of fact, the first game I was ever part of their radio crew was in Tuscaloosa against Alabama, and it certainly did not turn out the way that this past weekend's did. But I saw a few nice wins. One against LSU and a Bill Arnsparger coach team during those days when Watson was coaching. But it was something else. And interestingly enough, we faced Diego Pavia last year at New Mexico State, and he was hell on everybody in Conference USA last year. There's no question about it. We could have told you then, this cat's good. And not only did that New Mexico State team have him, the running back at Duke, Star Thomas, who scored a couple of touchdowns against Middle this year and is tearing up the ACC this year. He was on that same New Mexico State team with Pavia, and everybody was like, had their mouths open. Oh, this guy's unbelievable, and all. So we could have told you that. And it's always kind of interesting, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for this. It's that the Power Fours love to look down their nose at the Group of Fives and all of that until it's time to come steal their players, and then they talk about how good they were. So Diego Pavia, he's not good just now at Vanderbilt. He was good last year at New Mexico State.
Let me ask you this, Chip, because this has kind of been, or this was my concern or my thought, and I said this when we had Kevin on earlier in the show. Yeah, did you feel like what he did well at New Mexico State, he would be able to do well in the Southeastern Conference?
Well, that's hard. That's hard to say. He was just, you knew last year when you saw him at New Mexico State that he was a unique talent. And he had a pretty good line around him. Obviously, had a good running back behind him. But I mean, we held him to 14 points out in Las Cruces. It was a 14-10 game, something like that. We had a good plan for keeping him hemmed up once they got to the red zone. He kind of ran wild between the 20s, but we did a pretty good job of kind of closing things in on him once they got close. And that was a pretty veteran secondary and a veteran defensive line that was going at him last year. You had Jacoby Thomas back there in the secondary, who's now playing pretty well at Tennessee. You had Zaylen Wood, who's now one of his teammates at Vanderbilt, and 3 other defensive linemen who are also starting at Power Fours this year. So they were able to keep him hemmed in, and that was what was so surprising about Alabama is they could not keep him off the edge. And I guess Vandy's running back was able to do enough inside to where they had to honor that. And Vanderbilt's tackles and their receivers did a good job of setting enough of an edge to get him to the outside. And that to me was the surprising part. Not necessarily what he did. I think the surprising part was what Vandy's offensive line did to set a new line of scrimmage against Alabama's defensive line.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, bringing insight as always here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chip, we appreciate it. Oh,
hey, one quick question for you. What in your mind was Middle's best ever singular performance by a player against Louisiana Tech in football?
Oh, goodness. Oh.
This is a no-brainer.
I would imagine it was Flea, right?
No, it was not Flea, although he did play well in that playoff game. Dwan Hicks set the school record with 6 touchdowns in Middle's first ever 1A football game at home, and that was against Louisiana Tech. And
I think I missed that game.
Part of that goalpost did not end up in the Stones River. Part of it is still hanging above the bar at the Borough right across the street from Floyd Stadium.
That's so good.
Wow. That is good. That is good. Again, Chip Walters bringing insight and dropping knowledge here on Main Street Sports Today. Chip, we appreciate it, man.
See you, boys.
All righty. When we continue after this break on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, Blane and I will get into the grab bag and try to get you caught up on some stuff across the sports landscape. So stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studios after this.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
He shoots, and he scores!
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Blane Keller. I'm Maurice Patton. In our final segment, we will give you our top 5 30 for 30 ESPN documentaries, as ESPN is celebrating the 15th anniversary of that franchise this week. So stick around for the final segment. Right now, it's time to get in the grab bag. Let's start in the WNBA, where the second championship series participant will be decided tonight as the Connecticut Sun travels to the Minnesota Lynx for Game 5 of the WNBA semifinals. The Liberty closed Las Vegas out over the weekend and is sitting waiting on this winner to play them for the WNBA championship. Blane, I'm not sure how much WNBA you keep up with.
I know it'll be a good game.
It will be a good game. I mean,
it's been a good series.
It has been a good series. Again, it's Game 5 of the best of 5. Both these teams split on each team's floor. Connecticut took Game 1 in Minnesota, and Minnesota took the next 2 and was unable to close Connecticut out Sunday in Connecticut. So we're back in Minnesota tonight for the 5th and final contest, and I'm intrigued. I was a little shocked that Minnesota hasn't taken care of business any sooner than this, considering the way they came into the postseason. And I'm interested to see what Connecticut is able to do against Nafisa Collier. I'm intrigued by how Minnesota slows down or stops DeWanna Bonner and Marina Mabry, among others. So I think if you are into high stakes, high drama basketball with no regard for genders, this one might be one to tune into. So
you taking the Liberty or Connecticut / Minnesota?
Man, I think it depends. I think if it's Connecticut, I'm taking the Liberty. I think if it's the Lynx, I think I like the Lynx. But I am I'm intrigued by how this is going to go down here at both tonight and game 1 is on Thursday, so it's a quick turn for
Yeah.
whoever wins this thing. So that's going to be fun as well. But yeah, big game tonight, decisive game. Check it out again. What time is it?
3:40 my time.
No.
Oh,
The game.
not the time
now.
currently.
7 o'clock. 7 o'clock on ESPN2. So check that out if you're not tied up with baseball, or if you are tied up with baseball. Monday Night Football last night. Kansas City did what they do. They doubled up New Orleans. Derek Carr goes out of that game late with an oblique injury, so New Orleans, on top of the loss, has got some concerns at the quarterback position, because if he's not able to come back, then Jake Haener, the former Fresno State quarterback, is probably your guy. And I'm not sure that's a perfect situation for New Orleans to be in heading into the midseason.
Yeah, Taysom Hill, pretty sure he was out of that game too with a rib injury from a couple weeks back. So it's not like you could have ran your quarterback insurance.
Yeah, your Taysom Hill
down.
package. Yeah, now both those guys are down. So yeah, they got some issues all of a sudden. We talked about Vanderbilt's win over Alabama. We should probably talk about Arkansas's win over Tennessee, because that was 2 of the 6 unranked teams that beat teams ranked 18th or higher this weekend.
Crazy weekend of college football.
And, obviously I didn't see all of them, but Tennessee, Chip, I'm sorry, Kevin talked about Vanderbilt maybe being a little flat against Georgia State a few weeks ago. I don't know if Tennessee was flat against Arkansas. I don't know how you could be, but I'm not sure if they were flat. I'm not sure if Arkansas was better than we thought they were. I'm not sure if Tennessee just didn't execute, but they did not look very good. They didn't look, obviously they only scored 14 points. They didn't look nearly as explosive as they have been. It didn't look like they were trying to push the ball down the field the way we've seen them. And maybe that was because of Arkansas's defensive front. I'm not sure, but I'm a little shocked, really, that Tennessee only dropped 4 spots in the Associated Press top 25 after that loss, from 4 to 8. I kind of anticipated them maybe falling a little farther than that.
Yeah, I don't think. Alabama dropped 6 spots.
Well, yeah, and maybe that's because folks regarded Arkansas a little bit better, more than they did Vanderbilt. I'm not sure, but yeah, it suddenly makes this Florida game at Neyland this weekend really interesting. Because where is Tennessee from a mental standpoint going into this ball game, coming out of that one? It'll certainly be worth watching, as most Florida UT games are. But Texas goes back to number 1 following Alabama's loss. Ohio State also moves up a spot. Then you've got Oregon, Penn State, Georgia hold and serve at 5. Miami goes up a couple of spots to 6 this week. Alabama, like you said, Blane, falls 6 spots to number 7, followed by Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Clemson rounding out the top 10.
I'll be honest, Mo, if I was a Georgia fan or Georgia in general, I might be a little miffed that Penn State's ahead of me. Team that almost dropped out to Bowling Green at the start of its season. Good Bowling Green team, but still Bowling Green at home.
Right.
And your loss is Alabama, and you're not even in the top 4. That's just my thought. I don't know.
That's an interesting thought. It's an interesting point. And I can see why, if you were a UGA fan, that you might be a little concerned with that. Iowa State up 5 spots to 11. Notre Dame, speaking of baffling losses, Notre Dame is tied with Iowa State at 11, followed by LSU, BYU, and Texas A&M up 10 spots to 15 after that win over Missouri over the weekend. Utah
Missouri
Boise
fell.
Yeah, they fell all right. Let's see. Utah, Boise, Kansas State, Indiana, and Oklahoma. Well, Kansas State, Indiana, and Oklahoma are all tied at 18.
Wow.
Missouri falls 12 spots, like you said, to number 21. Wow, they must not have thought a whole lot of A&M. Pittsburgh, 5-0. Pittsburgh is at 22, followed by Illinois, Michigan falling 14 spots to number 24, and SMU rounding out the top 25. Vanderbilt got 26 votes. They are 30th, basically, in the AP top 25. So congratulations to the Commodores. The 3-2 Commodores.
Should be 4-1 Commodores.
At least 4-1.
Yeah.
Maybe 5-0. Yeah.
No, I'll touch on this briefly. On Main Street Sports today, we like to go preps to pros. The TSSAA golf tournament wrapping up for Class A and Division II. White House Heritage's Grayson Cook winning the individual tournament with a 1-over score, edging out Aiden Smith of Stewart County and Maddox Butler of Waverly. Believe this is Christian Academy of Knoxville's Bryson White won the Division IIA Boys Championship. Maddie Gray of Westview won the Class A girls title. So some local action. White House Heritage winning a state championship in golf. I'm not sure if that's happened before over there. So lots of rejoicing, lots of celebration over there for the Patriots.
Oh, I'm sure. Hey, check out the boys team standings real quick, as long as you've got that there, and tell me what Summertown's boys did.
Class A boys team standing: Stewart County winning Class A with a 20 over.
Okay.
Signal Mountain in second, 37 over. Mackenzie in third, Summertown in fourth of the 8 teams that made it into the tournament. They were 30 over.
Okay. All right. Cool. Saturday, the Nashville Soccer Club was officially eliminated from the Major League Soccer postseason. They're the first time in the franchise's history that they will not participate in the playoffs, and they answered with a 3-1 loss at the New York City Football Club on Sunday. So NFC will be one and done. They play next on October 19th against the Chicago Fire, and then they will shut it down and get a chance to go back and regroup under recently named coach BJ Callahan. It's not been a great year for NSC, obviously. And so, again, they missed the playoffs first time since the team's inception, and a lot of work to do over the off season for the boys in blue. So let's take a break here on Main Street Sports today. When we return to the Lee Company studios, it's Top 5 Tuesday. Blane and I will give you our best 30 for 30 ESPN documentaries. Come back and see what we've got when we return to the Lee Company studios after this.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
It's Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Blane Keller. This is the final segment of today's show, which means it's time for Top 5 Tuesday, presented by Mid-South 5 Fitness. Two great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Whatever shape it is you are in, Thalys Steel will get you in a better one. Promise you. Again, Franklin, Columbia. Find him at Steel Athletes, STEEL athletes.com. Again, ESPN is celebrating the 15th anniversary of its 30 for 30 franchise, and so we felt it would be appropriate for Blane and I to give you our top 5 30 for 30s. And Blane, I'll let you start.
Well, I've seen a ton of these, and I've really enjoyed most every one that I've watched. I don't know if this order is right, but I feel, in my gut, this is what I'm going to have to go with.
Okay.
I'll go at 5th. I hate Christian Laettner. I thought that was, it's so easy to for a guy to root against and to see his kind of career. That's an interesting one, I think, to watch. I mean, I think there's a lot of basketball influence on this one. I'll go tied for 3rd.
Whoa, stop.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
One from you, Mo.
No. We draft.
Oh, we're drafting.
We're drafting.
So
yes.
I took.
Yes, we're drafting.
I'll start. I hit Christian Laettner then. Let's go with that.
That's a good get, and the person for whom you are sitting in would be proud of that one as well. So yeah, you did Wade a solid by taking that one there. I'm sorry, I did not explain. I forgot that you were new. Yes, we draft. So
rookie mistake on my part.
That's okay. We'll get you schooled up. I am taking, because when I saw Roy Wood Jr., I think he's involved with the celebration telecast that is currently on ESPN and on their website on this. But when he tweeted out what are your favorite 30 for 30s, immediately, and what always springs to mind for me whenever this comes up, the best that never was, the one on Marcus Dupree, the former Mississippi prep star and former Oklahoma running back, because we are roughly the same age, I guess. And I remember hearing about him in Mississippi and watching him at Oklahoma and all the expectations that he ultimately didn't live up to, unfortunately. But yeah, the best that never was is the first one that came to mind for me here. So,
well, I'll tell you, first one, if going in regards to first one that came to mind, one that always sticks out to me, especially in this era of college football we're in now, Pony Excess. Got it. I think that's my second. If I had to rank them, that's probably my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking a 2-for-1 approach and grabbing Christian Laettner, and now I'm going Pony Excess for SMU. Kind of really interesting to see the contrast of how college football treated paying players years and years ago, and how open it is now.
Yeah, I think that one takes on, like you said, a particular irony in light of the college athletics paradigm now. So yeah, that's a good call. Pony Excess. Number 2 for me is the Randy Moss piece, Rand University. If you've not seen it, check it out. That's good stuff. Mm-hmm. It's that's what they call the town in West Virginia that a lot of really, really good athletes never got out of. So yeah, Rand University is my number 2. What's your number 3?
Surprised this one falls to 3. Mo, you don't know Bo.
It's on my list. It's definitely on my list.
3.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna go at number 3 because now that Blane realizes it's a draft, I'm going to go with this one at number 3 because I'm not sure how much farther I could let it go. This was a two-parter, but Vic,
Yeah.
the rise and fall of former Atlanta Falcons quarterback Michael Vick and his return. So that's my number 3.
That's a great pick. And you mentioned me now realizing this is a draft. I thought you were going to steal this magic moment from me. Fortunately, I hang on to that one, and that's going to be my number 4. Really love the twists and turns that one kind of takes on. And even a couple of instances of Michael Jordan, talking about Michael Jordan's run against the Magic in that series too. I thought that was really interesting. Someone who didn't grow up in that era. So this magic moment, my number 4.
Okay. My number 4, and I've still got some good ones on here, but my number 4, I've always been fascinated by Allen Iverson and his story from his high school days up in the Tidewater area all the way to the Basketball Hall of Fame. So no crossover. The Allen Iverson 30 for 30 is my number 4.
I've got a couple of honorable mentions here that surprising that they might get left off the list to some. The U, obviously a great 30 for 30 that I could go with at number 5 here. Catholics versus convicts, another one. I'm going Four Falls of Buffalo, though. That's going to be my number 5 pick, and round me out with a few football, couple of baseballs stories in here, if you count Bo Jackson, and then a little bit of basketball. Well-rounded sports stories on my part in my draft.
Absolutely. My number 5, and I've got Catholics versus convicts specifically on my list. I've also got Dion's double play, but my number 5 is kind of obscure, but Chris Herron was a guard, I think out of Boston College maybe, who had a fantastic collegiate career and really got sidetracked due to drugs and really went down a dark path and was able to work his way back to being a productive citizen up in the New England area. Unguarded is the documentary that takes on his story. And again, it's not a name that is familiar to a lot of people, but in that time, in that era, he was, and if you've not seen it, it might be worth checking out. He is now doing some motivational speaking. He has been sober here for 15 years, according to something that I'm looking at right now. But he really went down a dark road and made it back. Unguarded is my number 5.
There's so many to pick from.
It's fantastic,
so
man.
Many on the board. You could draft 15 of these apiece, and there's still going to be
and still leave somebody out or something.
Exactly.
Out. Absolutely, without question. So yeah, that is our top 5 30 for 30s. Let us know what yours are. Hit us up on Twitter or on X at @MS_sports today. That's it for Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Blane Keller. Appreciate you taking some time with us today, Blane, and you all as well. And look forward to seeing y'all back here at 2:00 tomorrow. So come back, check us out. Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We're coming to you from the Lee Company Studios. And again, we'll see you Wednesday at 2:00.